I love enchiladas! They're comfort food with a kick, especially with homemade chili sauce and a couple unconventional additions. Find out how to make this post-Thanksgiving treat right now. So starting with one of my unconventional ingredients, potatoes. I'm peeling these potatoes. But potatoes add an interesting textural component inside of the enchiladas, and they also help soak up some of that spice. If you're a spice wimp, they're nice to have in there. I'm not a spice wimp, and neither is my boyfriend, who originated these enchiladas, but we add the potatoes anyway, because he loves potatoes, and again, like I said, they add a nice textural element inside of the enchiladas. You want to cut them into cubes like this, and then put them into cold water, and then crank up the heat to high and boil them until they're tender. It doesn't take very long when they're cut into cubes like this. After a few minutes, poke them with a fork and drain them if they're done. Then you want to get some yogurt, leftover deep fry oil that you didn't throw away because you keep all of your food because you're frugal. Pour off some of that oil and measure it into a big pot, because we are making 20 enchiladas, guys. Alright, and this is where I have to pause. This chili powder was extremely potent, and if I could go back in time, I would add much less of it, because I used freshly ground dried chilies instead of the pre-ground stuff you buy at the supermarket. That was a big mistake. This was so spicy. Anyway, I adjusted the amount in the video description. In this video I added 3/4 of a cup of chili powder, but that was too much. All-purpose flour, and also if you're a spice wimp, you can substitute some of that chili powder with paprika or just use less. So what we're doing here is we are making a roux with the flour and with the chili powder and with the oil, and you want to cook that and stir it around until there's no bits of raw flour. Then we add some more spices to our roux, and then we just heat them up in the pan a little bit, and then we deglaze with a whole giant can of tomato sauce. This should thicken pretty much immediately from our roux, and you want to stir it really vigorously because it can lump pretty easily. A whisk also helps prevent lumpage. And then I'm adding some fresh chopped garlic because garlic is delicious. And then you gotta add 4 cups of water. I'm adding 2 cups of warm water right here just to speed up the process. And then the remaining 2 cups of water I'm going to pour first into the empty can of tomato sauce just to clean it out a little bit more. And stir till smooth, and that's basically your enchilada sauce. But we are going to dress it up with cream cheese, our other secret ingredient. This might also seem kind of strange, but believe me, it is so good. It mellows the sauce out a little bit, rounds it out, kind of like how French people put cream in their sauces. It adds a lot more calories to the dish too, but it's totally worth it. And we like leaving a little bit of lumpage in there actually, but if you want it smooth, cut up your cream cheese before putting it in and use a whisk to incorporate. Now the filling. So these onion tops and the little inedible fibrous bits near the skin, I save those in Tupperware containers along with chicken bones, or in this case turkey bones, and I boil those into a stock later. Nothing's wasted. The rest of the 2 onions we are going to cut into small cubes, get some more of that yogurt oil right there, and put it into a giant skillet, as big a skillet as you own, and put those 2 chopped onions in, along with a bunch of chopped garlic. I swear, we used like 2 heads of garlic in this entire recipe. And jalapenos, I'm not using these for heat at all, I'm just using them for flavor. Using like 6 giant jalapenos, and I'm removing the seeds and the ribs because that's where all the heat is. If you are a spice wimp, like I mentioned before, you can use some different kind of pepper in here, like a bell pepper or an Anaheim chili or something that does not have heat. After our onions are translucent, you add those to the pan. And this mysterious object wrapped in foil is actually our leftover our leftover roasted turkey breast from Thanksgiving. And using a combination of a knife and your hands, you want to pick the meat off of the bones and chop them into little cubes. And that meat on the bones, those bones, save those and put those in your stock. Meanwhile, in your vegetables, add some cumin and some chili powder. This is the store-bought stuff. And that should smell really nice after you put the spices in. And then you add your turkey. We did not add any salt to this vegetable mixture because our turkey was brined and it was very salty. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't too salty. And then do not buy pre-grated cheddar because it is coated with cornstarch and crap and it does not melt as well. I just buy like the biggest block of generic brand cheese I can at the supermarket and I grate the whole thing, and just grate cheese until you get tired of it and or until you have enough. And then you add your cooked potatoes to the vegetable mixture and stir very carefully so it doesn't fall out of the pan. And you also don't want to break up the potatoes too much either. And then we're adding, we're using 2.5 cans of olives total, but we're reserving some of them because you want them for garnish. Get a casserole dish, then get another casserole dish, then get another casserole dish, because as I said, we're making 20 enchiladas. You're gonna need a lot of casserole dishes for all those enchiladas. You start by lining the bottom of your casserole dish with some of the sauce. This prevents your enchiladas from sticking, but it also helps hydrate the bottoms so that they don't dry out. And then for the filling technique, you put some filling in. You don't want to overdo it. You want to be able to close these tortillas. And then you add a little bit of the way too spicy enchilada sauce and some cheese. And then it's best if you fold the top and bottom first before folding in the sides. But I guess this is pretty difficult to do when you're having to hover over the stovetop and your girlfriend is behind you, like filming over your shoulder. So forgive him. It doesn't really matter anyway if it's not that perfectly rolled, because it's gonna go seam side down, whoop, that way, into the casserole dish. And you'll see once you get all of the enchiladas into the dish, they fit just fine. It doesn't matter if your folding technique is not perfect. And then you cover them all with the enchilada sauce and the cheese. So yeah, if you run out of cheese, just grate some more. I usually like to preemptively buy a lot of cheese, top them with the olives, and we didn't fit 2 of our enchiladas in, and I had to use a pie plate. Put them all in the 350-degree oven for about a half hour until they are bubbly and the cheese is all melted and they look and smell delicious and wonderful. All the ingredients are pre-cooked, so you don't have to be too careful with how long you cook it. And there they all are in all their glory. This is one of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions, having the enchiladas for a whole week after Thanksgiving. Even if these were too spicy, a little milk makes it all better. Thanks for watching.